All right, ready to dive into a case that'll really make you think.
Oh, I'm sure this one's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, we're talking about Leslie Burchart,
Okay.
convicted of killing 3 homeless men in Richmond, Virginia,
Oh,
back in the 90s. But here's where it gets interesting. After his conviction, he confessed to 4 more murders.
what?
Part of those Golden Years murders you might have heard of,
Yeah.
only to recant those confessions later.
So are we trying to figure out if he was telling the truth?
Exactly. We're going to try and untangle this whole thing
Okay.
using his Wikipedia entry. See what we can make sense of.
It's definitely a case with a lot of questions.
Yeah, no kidding. Were those confessions the real deal?
Or-
Was he just trying to get attention?
Right.
And if he wasn't the one behind the Golden Years murders,
Yeah.
what does that mean for all those unsolved cases?
I mean, that's a whole other can of worms, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. So much to unpack here. And we're going to take it slow because on the surface, Burchart's life seems pretty normal at first.
Okay.
Born in Richmond in '49, held down different jobs. But there are signs of trouble early on.
Oh,
His mother struggled with schizophrenia,
okay.
and there are hints he might not have been treated well by his stepmom.
That's rough.
And his mental health struggles didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Right.
He was actually diagnosed with mental illness way back in '78
Mm.
and got treatment on and off over the years.
So it's not like a sudden thing.
More of a slow decline.
I see.
Like watching a train slowly going off the rails.
Yeah, I get that.
And things took a real turn in the '80s. Lost his job, ended up homeless.
Wow.
And in '93, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Okay.
Declared incompetent for societal reintegration.
What does that even mean?
Well, basically, at that time, they decided he couldn't function on his own safely in society.
Like you needed help.
Yeah, like the system recognized he was having serious problems,
Yeah.
but maybe they didn't have the resources or the, I don't know, the will to really help him long term.
That's kind of disturbing.
It is. And a few months later, he escapes from a nursing home back to the streets.
I don't know.
Fast forward to the summer of '96, that's when things get really dark.
Okay.
This is where he goes from troubled guy to convicted killer.
Okay, what happened?
It all starts with what seems like a pretty minor thing. He's arrested for trespassing.
Oh, so like nothing major.
You'd think open and shut.
Yeah.
But during questioning, he does something totally unexpected.
What's that?
He confesses not to 1, but 3 murders.
Oh, wow. He just comes out with it.
And he doesn't just say, yeah, I did it. He gives specific details about the killings.
Like what?
A man strangled over drug money, another one beaten so bad his skull was crushed.
Oh, my gosh.
Another one strangled during an argument. He even confessed to attacking a homeless woman.
Really?
Brutally. She ended up with 36 skull fractures. Thankfully, she survived. It's just shocking.
Yeah, totally unexpected.
It's like he just lays it all out there, out of nowhere.
So was he convicted?
Yeah, these confessions seem believable. He's convicted, gets 105 years.
Wow.
But here's the thing. It's what happens after that really throws a wrench into everything.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happens next? I mean, confessing to murders during a trespassing arrest
Yeah,
doesn't really seem like the best strategy if you're trying to keep things hidden.
right. It's weird. Makes you wonder if those first murders were weighing on him so much that he just had to get it off his chest, even in such a random situation. Like a profound...
pressure valve?
Maybe. Or maybe, and this is a little darker,
Yeah.
maybe those murders were just the start, and he felt like he had to reveal even more.
What do you mean?
Well, 3 years into his sentence, Burchart does something even more shocking.
Oh, no.
He contacts the Richmond police
Okay.
and says he's responsible for 4 more murders.
4 more.
Yeah.
Wow. But these weren't just any murders, were they?
These were part of those Golden Years murders that had
Right.
been terrifying Richmond for years.
Yeah, at least 13 elderly women were killed.
And the city must have been on edge.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you imagine the pressure on the police to solve those cases?
Oh, I bet it was immense.
And then Burchart, already doing life,
Yeah.
suddenly confesses to these high-profile, unsolved crimes,
Crazy.
and he goes beyond just saying he did it.
Right.
He gives details that, supposedly, only the killer would know.
Oh, wow.
He even says he hung out in some of the same places as the victims.
So it seems like it all adds up, right?
Yeah, you've got a guy confessing to multiple murders,
Mm.
offering details that sound believable.
Right.
But there's a catch, isn't there?
There is. A big one.
What's that?
While his confessions about the homeless men seemed pretty solid,
Yeah.
There was absolutely no physical evidence connecting him to the Golden Years murders.
Really? Nothing.
Nope, no DNA, no fingerprints, nothing.
So wait, he's giving specifics, but there's zero physical proof.
Exactly.
That's strange.
It is. It really throws the whole case into question.
I mean, how often does that happen?
Not very often.
Yeah.
Makes you question everything.
Right.
His motives, his sanity, if his confessions were even real.
Like, was he telling the truth or just making things up?
Yeah, was he hoping to be, infamous?
Yeah, some serial killers, they want that attention.
Right, that dark kind of fame.
But then just when you think you're starting to understand him,
Yeah.
he does something even more unpredictable. After pleading guilty to the Golden Years murders.
He's guilty.
And getting 5 more life sentences on top of what he already had.
Okay.
He takes it all back, says he didn't do it.
He recants.
Yeah. Completely denies any involvement.
That's like a roller coaster.
Right. Confesses, recants, confesses again.
Makes you wonder what his real motivations were.
Totally. It's like he's playing games with everyone. The police, the victims' families, the whole justice system, and we're stuck trying to solve this puzzle
Right.
with a bunch of missing pieces.
Exactly.
Did Leslie Burchart actually confess to these awful crimes? Or was there something else going on? Was he manipulating everyone?
Possibly.
Was he desperate for attention?
Maybe.
Or was he just so troubled
Yeah.
that his mental illness made him see things differently?
Could be.
And those are just the questions about Burchart himself.
Yeah, it's just part of it.
There's another layer to this whole thing.
What's that?
A retired detective who worked on the case, Ron Reed,
Okay.
comes forward with some pretty disturbing claims.
What does he say?
He thinks Burchart might be responsible for even more deaths.
More than he confessed to.
Yeah, including a woman who died in a nursing home
Oh, wow.
and another homeless man.
That's a scary thought.
Right.
Like-
Especially for the families of those victims.
Yeah.
They might never know what truly happened.
And here's where things get really unsettling. Reed says his supervisor purposely hid evidence.
Why would he do that?
Maybe to avoid bad publicity for the Richmond police.
So he's saying there was a cover-up.
Yeah, essentially.
Wow, that's a serious accusation. Is there any proof?
Well, the Richmond police deny any wrongdoing.
Of course.
They say those deaths Reed mentioned were from natural causes, not foul play. And they insist there's no evidence linking Burchart to those cases.
So we're left with these conflicting stories.
Right, accusations, denials. It's a mess.
It's like trying to find solid ground in a swamp.
Yeah, good analogy.
It makes you wonder if we'll ever really know the full story.
It feels like there are crucial pieces missing.
Yeah, like it's almost impossible to tell what's true and what's not.
And tragically, we may never find those missing pieces.
Why not?
Leslie Burchart died in prison in 2002.
Oh, how?
Cardiovascular disease. Whatever secrets he had, he took them with him.
So where does that leave us?
With a man who confessed to a string of brutal murders,
Right.
then changed his story,
Yeah.
leaving behind a ton of unanswered questions.
And a lot of pain and uncertainty.
Absolutely.
So even in cases that seem pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
there can be all these layers of complexity, ambiguity, unanswered questions. And you think about the families of the victims, they might never really know what happened. It's got to be hard to find closure.
It is. One of the saddest parts of this whole thing. Burchart's death doesn't really change anything for them. Yeah.
No, they're still left wondering, searching for answers. And it's not just about finding out what happened.
Right.
It's about trying to understand why someone would do something like this, especially those Golden Years murders.
Yeah.
Those victims were elderly women, seemingly random targets. What would make someone...
It's a tough question. In this whole case, it really highlights how complicated things get when mental illness is a factor.
Right. How much did Burchart's schizophrenia play a part in all this?
Yeah. How do you separate a real confession from something that's, a product of a troubled mind?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
We want justice, but we also don't want to punish someone
Yeah.
for something they did because they were sick, not because they were a criminal.
Absolutely. It's finding that balance.
This case, it really shows the challenges we face. Protecting the vulnerable.
Right.
Finding justice. Understanding why people do the things they do.
And sometimes we just don't have all the answers.
It's heavy stuff.
It is. And it brings up maybe the most unsettling question about this whole deep dive.
What's that?
If Leslie Burchart didn't do the Golden Years murders, does that mean there was someone else out there
Oh, wow.
killing those women?
That's a chilling thought. Like another killer? Maybe more victims?
Yeah.
More families still searching for answers? Makes you realize that searching for justice,
it's never really over.
Yeah, some cases they never really close.
It's easy to get caught up in the details, the
Right.
twists and turns,
Right.
the mystery. But we can't forget about the real people involved.
The victims, their families, the pain that's left behind.
That's what really matters.
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight of that when you're focused on the puzzle. But these were real people. Their lives were cut short.
And for their loved ones, the search for answers.
It might never end.
This deep dive into Leslie Burchart's story, it's been a journey. Through confessions, denials, and so many questions. And we may never have all the answers, but maybe what we can learn from this is to think about how complex the justice system is.
Yeah.
How challenging mental illness can be, and how much these violent crimes affect everyone involved.
Well said. Even when a case is closed, the effects are still felt. And the need for closure, for understanding.
It can last a lifetime.
It's a case that'll stick with me, that's for sure. And hopefully it makes people listening think about these things too, about how important it is to keep searching for justice.
Yeah.
Not just for the victims, but for all of us.